Hello everybody, it's been a while. So as you can see, I'm in a different environment now. I have recently switched from i3 into Mate, and I had to apply my tweaks again, and I figured, hey, I would show you guys what I do in order to get the most performance out of any desktop environment I choose to use. Now this is specific for Mate, at least the one of the parts. To show you what I mean, the specific part is right here. I'm going to highlight it right now. So the specific part is that one right there, because it uses Mate tweak. Now if you're running something like Ubuntu, you can use Ubuntu tweak tool, something like that. Just make sure to look up the tweak tool for your desktop environment if you're using one, because we're going to spend some time in there. Also, one really important thing, startup apps. I'm sure that startup apps are available in XFCE and other desktop environments, so this is a universal one, to be honest. And to start things off, I started on a minimal installation. So how do you actually start with a minimal installation? To start with a minimal installation, you just get yourself the server image that you can find on for your distribution you want to use. For example, I had to get, let me just bring up a NeoFetch right here. I decided to use Debian as my base, so I installed Debian, and obviously I'm using CSH and stuff. That doesn't matter. The thing that matters is that I started with a basic installation of Debian. So while you're installing Debian, specifically Debian 10 Buster or any flavor of Debian, you have to pick the net installation variant, which is the most minimal installation you can go with. And during the installation, there will be the section where you pick your software. The one thing I would recommend is pick the basic system utilities. This is key to make sure that your system isn't using much of its resources, which is important to make it really fast. One important thing, if you're using Ubuntu Mate, you can pretty much do the rest normally, but if you're running on version, what was it, 2004 or 2010, you will have snaps everywhere, and snaps aren't particularly good, hence why I'm using Debian and not Ubuntu Mate. So that's one thing to keep in mind. You could go with the Ubuntu Mini installation and just do everything on that, but you know, with snaps and stuff, I wouldn't recommend it. Snaps are just, I don't have anything against them, they're just a bit too bloated for my taste. So that's that. So just use a minimal install. If you do not know how to go about one, just find the mini installation guides. There are a ton of them online. You can study it up. If you are a bit scared, I would recommend that you go and practice in a virtual machine first. So I'm pretty sure VMware is available pretty much everywhere. So you can use VMware or something like VirtualBox, which I do have on here. Let me just pull it up. You can use either VMware or VirtualBox. It's inaccessible right now, kind of funny. You can use either VMware or VirtualBox to practice there. Again, I'm not going to show you how to create a virtual machine. It's actually really simple if you use the step-by-step guides. And just practice installing there, and once you feel confident that you can do it, install on bare metal. Now I've done this multiple times already, so I went ahead, put it on my desktop PC, completely wiped the drive, and installed Debian 10 Buster with the minimal installation, and just pick the basic system utilities. If you're going to print, I would recommend that you also pick the print server option, because that's gonna it's going to help you get a really low amount of headaches. I can't tell you how much I struggled getting my printer to work, and now with ticking that one thing during the install, it really helped a lot. So make sure to start on a minimal installation and work your way from that, and install only the apps that you need and know you're going to use. Next is enabling swap. Now to show you that I'm actually using my swap, you're going to have to install something called fallocate. Again, if it's not installed, just install it using this command right here. So install fallocate, and this is to create a 2 gig swap. If you want a 1 gig swap, the thing you would change here is change the 2 to 1, as you can see. But it really depends on you. I used a 2 gig swap because it's half of my memory, and it's something like a page file on Windows. It helps out a lot. These are the steps on creating one. You would basically run sudo fallocate. I can actually show you in my history file. So I'm going to open up my history file right here, and it actually goes to the very top of it. Where is it? Where is it? Oh, there it is. So basically, you go ahead and install fallocate. Then you use it to create 2 gig swap, and then you give it the path that you want to use for your swap file. And then you change the permissions so that only root can access it. And again, give the path to the swap file. Then you make the swap file. Then you turn the basic file into a swap file. And then you enable it. Now you can list your swap files with the swapon show command. Again, it really depends on what you are using. For example, to show you that my swap is working, it was, I believe, I actually forgot. Let me have a look again. Where is it? Swapon show. Okay, sudo swapon show. Okay, sudo swapon the show. Okay, let me just copy that. So it's sudo swap on, I believe, show, like that. And you can see that now this is not fully written out, but let me just size this a bit differently. Okay, let me just run the command again. Let me just clear it out and run the command again. So here, okay, it was actually enough. What am I doing? Essentially, what it will do, it will list your swap. So basically, where your swap is, what type of swap we're swapping to a file. I would recommend that you use a partition instead, but I don't want to lose any of my data, so I use a swap file. It's enough for what I use it. The size I gave it was 2 gigs, which is reflected over here. How much is used? Obviously 0, but depending on how many apps you have launched, it will really make a difference. And the priority is determined because of how you set your configuration. You can make it permanent. I'm not really sure what the command was actually to make it permanent. So again, I'm going to just open up the history file, which I have on my computer. It's a custom history file that's being generated with my zsh config. Let me just find it where it is. So another thing you can do is you can go into the, oh, here it is, etc fstab. So let me open that up. And fstab, and what you want to do is you want to scroll down here, and let me actually open it up in vim actually. Why am I using nano even? There you go, vim. And what you want to do is you want to go over here, and you want to add pretty much here, the first section is where your swap file is located, and these next two, this one determines what, so this is, the first one is the file system along with the mount point. So the mount point is the swap, so we're mounting it to the swap essentially. Next one is the type. So the type is swap, and next we have the option. Option is default, so you want to make sure you use the system default so your Linux operating system can handle your swap. And then these two, they're just there for the dump and the pass. Make sure to set them to 0. I was experimenting with this before. on my virtual machine and changing these to different values along with this. I originally thought like, oh okay, I do not need this, so I just got rid of them, and guess what, my PC wouldn't boot because it didn't know what to do with that file. So make sure you add these in to make sure that your swap works properly. Just a bit of a heads up. So yeah, another thing, as I mentioned, we're going to, as I showed you the file before, again you can use nano to open the file, or vim, depending on what tickles your pickle, honestly. So I'm going to open up in vim again, and we're going to scroll down all the way, and this is the line right here that we've added to the end. The swappiness basically tells it how quickly to swap pages, which really helps if you wanna have a bit more quickly, a bit more snappy feeling system. So make sure to just do that. And the swap partition, the thing that we've been talking about these past few minutes about, is the most important part right here to just enable the swap. It's one of the biggest performance improvements you can make if you are running low on memory. Honestly, it really helps out and makes your system a lot more stable. So with that out of the way, we're going to quit out of this. Let me clear this out. And the next thing we're going to do is look at Mate tweak. Now this is specific for Ubuntu Mate, as I mentioned in the beginning. So you go over here into the control center and you see Mate tweak. Now I've tweaked it to make it a bit more easier in my eyes and for myself. So the thing what you want to do is you want to disable the icons, you know, make it look clean. You can change how it looks. I got these three, the basic ones. Then I have the enable LED keyboard indicators. I have that disabled because I don't need that. Okay, this thing, so the windows. Disable animations. This will really help if you want to make your system feel really fast, so disable that. Show window content while moving windows. I have that this is do not show window content while moving windows. What it does, it creates these three lines, which may be useful for you if you're looking for that old school Windows Z look if you disable those things. Again, this is helpful if you want to make your system feel really fast, but I like to see what I'm dragging around. Again, if you want to make it a bit faster, if you're running on a lower end system, just enable this and it will generate those lines. I don't use it as much, but it really helps out on lower end systems. I'm not saying that my system is any better than yours, but mine is like kind of mid tier, if not low end by this point. I built it about a year ago. It still suits me well, especially if I'm using Linux. Next thing, appearance, I just keep it on the right side. That's just that. I have the HIDPI, the scaling factor, set to auto detect. I don't want to mess around with DPI scaling. In terms of the window manager, I have disabled the compositor. This is actually one of the major performance improvements you can make. If you disable this, it reduces the load quite a bit on your system. Now my system is not a good example of it because I have some applications running in the background right now, but if you are going for a truly fast feeling system, this is one of the major things you can do. And it will also reduce the load on both your CPU, GPU, and your RAM, which really helps a lot. So that's Mate tweak. The next thing, again, this is specific for Mate because I have Mate tweak. Depending on what you have, I think XFCE has XFCE tweak or something like that. I haven't used XFCE in a while, so I cannot speak for that. But again, you'll be able to find different tweak utilities you can install to make it much easier for yourself. And the last one, and possibly one of the more important ones, is the startup applications. So if you scroll down a bit in the control center, you'll see startup applications. Now this one has been tweaked already, but basically what I have enabled and disabled, the things I disabled I removed, so there was like 10 different things in here and I got rid of them. It really helps if you want to keep your system really like boot up real fast and not use as many resources. Normally we'll be using around a gig, but with all these tweaks applied, we reduced it by a really nice chunk of memory, obviously. Because normally Mate, once you get it, you will be seeing quite high uses of RAM, So basically what you're expected to do is tweak it to the thing that you like personally. And one thing that really makes a difference is once you apply all these settings, make sure to reboot. Because if you don't reboot, it doesn't apply any of these settings, so you won't be able to basically feel the difference. Again, one of the major ones to have, if you have the capacity to run, is run a swap file, which really matters a lot. One really important thing to remember is you can always check what your computer is doing. Obviously I'm running OBS right now, that's why it's using this much CPU right now. But the thing that to remember is that you can definitely get those lows really low. So just remember that. Again, my system is not the most ideal. Again, I'm using 700 megs of RAM right now, but that's because of all the stuff I have in there and stuff I have cached and stuff. So again, it's not an ideal representation of a fully tweaked system. These were just the major ones that helped me improve the performance on my computer specifically. So if you guys have any suggestions on what I should do to get it even lower, obviously one method is using just a window manager, but again, you have to configure it a lot and it's a lot of hassle for getting just a few more megabytes of RAM, which may make the difference on a system. For my use case, it really doesn't change much. So I use a desktop environment because, you know, it's easy to set up, doesn't take much time at all, and you can do this in pretty much a few minutes. The reason why this video took so long is I have to explain everything. You can either ignore my things I showed you how to do, but in the description you'll see steps on how to do those things. Again, everything is explained everywhere else on the internet. You don't have to run a specific thing because somebody told you so. So, you know. And with that note, I would like to thank you guys for watching this video. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time, possibly on another like Linux-based video. I honestly love Linux. It's really cool. Also, make sure to check out my social media, either my Twitter or my Instagram or my Facebook. Again, you can find those on my website, which is always linked there. So yeah. With that note, I'll see you guys next time.